2022 was a little underwhelming for native VR releases, but the VR modding scene has been going from strength to strength. Here's my roundup of this year's releases, and some information about new VR mods due for release in 2023. The Resident Evil VR mods by Praydog released for Resident Evil 2 and 3 Remake, as well as 7 and 8. I went over my thoughts on the games in another video, but a quick overview for those that didn't watch that. My personal ranking would be 2, 7, 8 and 3. I like 2 and 7 the most because they're more survival horror, 3 and 8 are more action focused, and I personally prefer the pace of the other two. Having to conserve your ammo and sometimes run away makes for more interesting gameplay over just being able to run and gun down everything that moves. The VR mods are excellent, but 7 and 8 feel the best because they're first person to start with, so the movement feels like it would if it was a native VR game, whereas 2 and 3 are third person converted to first person, and the movement can feel a little clunky at times. There's head bobbing, and the game will also sometimes cut to third person when you get grabbed. All 4 games are great in VR, and if you want AAA games to play, these are the best we have with excellent graphics, although you do need a good PC to run them. Firewatch released to the public for free and is available through itch.io. This is an excellent mod with motion controls. You can pick things up, hold out a map and compass, and I can't even imagine playing this game any other way. The Stanley Parable Deluxe Edition got a VR mod by the same developer, and it's currently available in early access through his Patreon. I haven't had a chance to check this one out yet, but it also has motion control support. He also released a mod for Neon White and Trombone Champ. Both are available if you support him through Patreon, or you can pay a small one-off fee through itch and get free updates as well. Neon White is excellent. It's a speedrunning first-person shooter where you get different weapons and power-ups, like being able to rocket jump and use a grappling hook. It's very addictive, with bronze, silver, gold and platinum times to try and beat, as well as VR specific leaderboards. If you want a fast, intense VR game with some crazy fluid movement, then this is the game for you. Trombone Champ is a rhythm game where you mimic playing a trombone by pressing the trigger and moving your hand back and forth. It might not be the deepest game that's going to make you think about the political and economical climate, but it will put a smile on your face as you play a trombone badly that sounds like you're making bottom burps. Deep Rock Galactic is a great VR mod released with motion controls, and it still gets regular updates. You can aim your guns with your hands and even mine by swinging your pickaxe back and forth. I've not tried this one yet as it's not really my sort of thing, but I've heard you say rock and stone a lot. Half-Life 2 VR finally got released after being announced way back in the early days of VR. A new programmer, Volga, came on board as well as a few other people and really turned this into one of the best, most complete and closest to native VR mods out there. It even has its own Steam page. You install the mod like any Steam game, but you need Half-Life 2 in your library for it to work. It's got manual reloading, motion controlled ladder climbing, and you use a Half-Life Alyx style weapon wheel. It's incredibly fun to play something so fast in VR that doesn't hold back, and it's essential for anyone with a VR headset and a PC. Raft got a VR mod with full motion controls, including physically throwing out your hook and having to stab the shark with the spear with your actual hands. If you enjoy survival games, Raft is well worth a play and it's got full co-op support. Left 4 Dead 2 now has a VR mod and I've been having a blast with some friends. This one is more basic than some of the others. It does have motion controls, but the in-game arms rotate with the motion controls so they can move around strangely, but you can change something in the ini file to remove the arms and just have floating weapons. This is how I play it. It now has physical melee, so you can swing weapons and hit zombies rather than pressing a button, and the latest update now has working menus and HUD in-game. It's one of the most fun games I've played in VR, so don't let the no hands thing put you off, but it's very intense with some slight head bob, and you will get overwhelmed by zombies, so only try this if you have good VR legs. Gunfire Reborn is a roguelite shooter with very positive reviews on Steam. Pure Dark made a VR mod for this which released recently and it's excellent. Again, it's full motion control support and it feels very close to native VR. Saints Row 3 and the new Saints Row had a surprise VR mod release. This is another one I've not had a chance to try myself, but I do know that it's got motion controls, and I've read that you can actually play through the entire game with them. I'm just not sure how smooth the experience will be. As with all the mods that I mentioned in this video, links are in the description. Team Beef, a group of VR modders well known for Quest VR mods for games like Doom 3 and Half-Life 1, have a couple of mods available in early access through their Patreon. Bendy and the Ink Machine, which is PC only, this is a puzzle action horror game with a really cool early animation look to it. It's like being inside an early Mickey Mouse cartoon, but the mouse is trying to kill you. Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy and Outcast are also getting the VR port treatment, but these will only be on the Quest. All of these Team Beef mods have full motion controls, including physical melee, and the Jedi Knight games even let you deflect lasers with your lightsaber. A game that no one expected to get a VR mod is Final Fantasy XVI, simply because it's an online-only MMO. It did get a mod though, and it works without getting you banned. This mod does use alternative eye rendering, which is a way to project the game in 3D by displaying the image one eye and then the other eye, and it flicks between the two constantly. It does work, but you've got to reach a really high frame rate, otherwise you won't get a great experience, and you'll see things like ghosting around other characters and objects as you move around. You can play it in third person and first person. Motion controls are supported, but from what I can tell, you're just using them as a gamepad. This is still in alpha, and more updates will come with time, but for a lot of people, just being in the world is enough. If you don't mind playing games in VR with a gamepad or mouse and keyboard, then there are a few mods that released this year, like Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. This game was pretty insane to experience in VR, with incredible moments that will blow you away. If you haven't played this game, then I really recommend giving it a go. Luke Ross, a well-known modder adding basic VR support to some of the biggest AAA flat games, has released a few mods this year. These are Cyberpunk 2077, Elden Ring, Dark Souls Remastered, Final Fantasy VII, Ghostwire Tokyo, Stray, Ghost Runner, and then Grounded, which is just released. I've been critical of Luke's mods in the past, because it uses alternative eye rendering technique, and most of the games that Luke mods can't run at high enough frame rate unless you've got a supercomputer. That might be about to change though, as he's been working on a new update he is labelling as AER 2.0, which uses space warp similar to Oculus's ASW, where it doubles the frame rate with AI. I'm still skeptical, but I'll be trying it out when it releases to see if it's a game changer that he says it is. I also want to give a shout out to an incredible Half-Life Alyx mod called Levitation. It's not a VR mod for a non-VR game, but it's a very polished 3 to 4 hour level which feels close to official DLC, and it features voice acting, animated NPCs, and a really nice paced mini campaign. So what about in 2023? Well, we're going to have stuff that comes out of nowhere, so I can't predict every VR mod that's going to come out next year, but I do know some stuff that's coming out. First off, we've got the Unreal 4 injector. I went into some detail about this in a previous video, but this is an injector that enables basic VR support into most Unreal Engine 4 and potentially 5 games. This means you're going to get full 6 degrees of freedom with head movement, so you can lean your head, but the in-game character won't follow, so not room scale, and the injector also fixes the menus and UI of a lot of games by default. After a lot of testing, not all games will work out of the box. Some don't show in the headset, some crash on injection, some games work with minor issues like shaders and shadows not displaying correctly, but some of those can actually be fixed with any tweaks. Some UI stuff can be broken, but overall a lot of games work pretty much perfectly out of the box, like Stray, Kena Bridge of Spirits, and Hot Wheels Unleashed. Praydog has also been working on making a plugin system that will help other modders to add things like motion controls, and he's even added motion controls to Severed Steel as a template. There's still some stuff that Praydog wants to add before release, like head aiming, as well as trying to get some games that are broken to work, so expect a public release in the next few months at the latest. Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and 2 will be getting VR support through the Half-Life 2 VR mod. These currently have some issues that need fixing, but work has been started on getting those fixed, so expect to play through them at some point in 2023. Portal 1 also has been tested working in VR, but the developer of that mod moved to the Half-Life 2 VR team to help them with the main mod. The plan is to get Portal VR released once the episodes are finished, although this will depend on Valve giving them the go-ahead, as Valve were very kind to give the Half-Life 2 VR mod team access to the source code, so they can't just release that to the public without getting them to sign it off first. Portal 2 and Black Mesa are also possible, but they've already got their hands full with the episodes and Portal, so don't expect anything to happen with those anytime soon. Zelda Breath of the Wild had a VR mod in the works via an emulator that lets you play the game in third and first person, and I've been reliably informed that it will release at some point in 2023. I don't have any other details on that, but it's a game I've never played but heard nothing but constant praise for. Ready or Not recently had the VR plugins added back into the game, which means that the people making the VR mod don't need the injector anymore. The modders are the same people who worked on Deep Rock Galactic and the MechWarrior 5 mods, so they've got some good experience. I'm not sure how far along the mod is and when we'll see a public release, but it's happening, and the developer's even going to approve the mod so it can be used online. Resident Evil 4 Remake is releasing in March, and Praydog's already said that he'll get it to work in VR after launch. Whether it will be third person or whether he'll convert it to first person with motion controls, it's unknown. but after watching some gameplay, I'm really excited to play this one either way. Battlefront 2 has a VR mod in the works, which I don't have a lot of details on at the moment. It's currently in very early alpha, it doesn't have motion control support. I'm curious if this will be using AER, or if it's synced eye rendering, and the work that it does on this mod could be applied to other Frostbite engine games. I'm looking at you, Dead Space. Finally, there's been some exciting developments from the modder of Gunfire Reborn and Preydog with DLSS and other upscalers like FSR 2.0. Pure Doc, the modder of Gunfire, has been able to get DLSS working with Skyrim and is looking to add that to the VR version with massive performance gains and better clarity over TAA. Preydog has been adding DLSS and FSR 2.0 to the Resident Evil games, which will really help with performance, so keep an eye out for those. And that's it. That's everything that I know. I just want to give a big shout out to all the VR modders, as they've been keeping me using my VR headset throughout this year, and some of my favourite VR experiences have been through mods of non-VR games.